I got some fire today. I think this is going to be a good episode. I'm going to be talking about things that I learned yesterday and an epiphany that I had because of it. Well, because of one of the things, really. The first thing is just interesting and inspiring. So, there's this guy, his name is Fousey. I think he had this YouTube channel called FouseyTube. He's a YouTuber from the Gilded age of YouTube. From way back in the day. I met him a bunch of times because back in the day, I was an early viral video producer on YouTube. I made some big viral stunts, some big stunts. They went super viral on YouTube. And me and my friends who I made them with, we got invited to a lot of creator conferences. And so I met a lot of these early big YouTube creators like Fousey. And Fousey was doing some things similar to what Mr. Beast is doing now, except he had far less business acumen and intuition than Mr. Beast has. So he was taking pretty much all the money he was making from his videos and then investing them back into his videos. And his videos degraded in quality. He became an alcoholic. He was also a big jerk. People didn't want to work with him. People didn't like him. He was drinking all the time, and he was taking all of his money, putting it back into his content. His content stopped being good. So let's fast forward from the Gilded age of YouTube to now, 10 years later. This guy Fousey, hyper famous back in the day. Now he has less than $100,000 to his name. And he has rent. He pays $4,000 a month. He has bills. And he's miserable. He's nearly broke. He's still famous. And so here's what he did. And I love this. I love this because I tell everybody that they should do this regardless of status in life. I mean, maybe if you're like super wealthy already and you really just want to hide your life. Okay, I get it. But most people are not. And so this is what he did. He went full on build in public. He said, I'm going to show every aspect of my life. And he did this to the nth degree. He's streaming on Twitch literally 24/7. Like literally 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. He just keeps streaming, documenting his life on Twitch. Documenting everything, sharing everything. And I'm going to tell you like how much he shares because it's crazy. I mean, the reason that I know that he pays $4,000 a month in rent is because he shared it. He shared it on his stream. I learned this. So I was hanging out with a friend, and this friend, he's a longtime co-producer of mine. He was one of the people that I was making my viral videos with. And I was hanging out with him yesterday, and he's really deep into YouTube culture and what's going on with the biggest creators. He loves the H3 podcast. He likes the gossip from the YouTube creator world. Now he's deep into Twitch, into the Twitch creator world. He's always hanging out with famous Twitch streamers. And I was with him yesterday, and he was sharing all of these stories with me about big creators. And this one really stuck out. I was enamored by this story because we all love a comeback story. And this is it. So this guy, Fousey, documenting his life 24/7. He's nearly broke. He's still famous. All these bills. He's miserable. He's scared. And he got himself onto the H3 podcast, which is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, podcasts for creators. Really, really big podcast for creators. Really might be the biggest. And the host, I think the host is this guy, Ethan, and his wife. I watched his stuff. H3 was their channel. But I don't know if they're friends with Fousey, but I'm guessing they wouldn't like him because he was a jerk. But he goes on the podcast and he's super humble because he's changed. He has been humbled by losing all of his money. and being nearly broke. And he's been super humbled. And he's on the podcast and they love him. And it goes great. It's a really good podcast. And so after the show, he goes into his car and, he's still live streaming. He's always live streaming on Twitch. And he shows himself calling his mom. And he's like, Mom, the show went great. They really liked me. The show went great, Mom. And the mom's like, I'm so proud of you. And it was this really touching moment. This is what I'm learning from my friend who was telling me. We were walking to the Plaza Hotel yesterday. And we're walking up 6th Avenue as my friend is sharing this with me. And it's crowded and it's busy and there's people everywhere. And I am totally focused on the story because it's such a good story. And I'm barely noticing the people in front of me and the skyscrapers and everything. Yesterday was a crazy day. I'll talk about that more. But okay. Staying on point. Tell his mom, it went great. Mom goes, I'm so proud of you. A few days before this, he was sharing a story about how his dad never said, I love you to him. Never said it. And he shared that story while he was live streaming on Twitch. And he calls his dad after he calls his mom. And he tells his Dad, the podcast went great. I think I can change my trajectory. Remember, he became an alcoholic. So his parents probably really were not happy with him. I mean, he's nearly lost everything. And he was someone who people didn't like. He was a big jerk and he was an alcoholic. And he's rebounded. He's not drinking anymore. He's sober and he's nice and he's humbled. And his dad says, I love you. His dad says, I love you on the call while he's live streaming. And he cries. He cries while live streaming. This is a very masculine dude. You can look at him. He's live streaming right now. As I'm recording this, he's on Twitch, live streaming with him and his friends in a car. I was looking at it right before I'm recording this. And he cries. And it's so authentic. But people are saying he hasn't changed. So there's all this hate on Twitter. And people are like, Fousey, you haven't changed. Or Fousey. I keep saying it's Fousey, you haven't changed. And they're calling him out for things that he did in the past. I think he shoved somebody at a conference and then he said something mean to somebody at a creator conference. And then this person, like a creator who's 10 years younger than him, punched him in the face. And this guy who punched him in the face is like, you haven't changed. You're still the same jerk that you were before. And you know what he does? He replies in public. And shows it on the stream. He says, you're right. I was a big jerk. I was a POS. And I agree. And you know what? I apologize for my behavior. And you can't argue with that because he knows it. He knows that he was a jerk. He knows that he was not a good person. And you can't argue with that level of humility. And now these people who didn't like him, even them are saying, wow, this guy has changed. And his stream is super popular on Twitch. It's very popular on Twitch. And I love this because all of us, myself heavily included, we love a comeback story. Everybody loves a comeback story. And this guy, Fousey, is coming back hard. He is coming back hard. And hopefully he doesn't make the same mistakes that he did before. Hopefully he's better with his money. He's not a jerk. He's super humble. He stays sober. He stays sober. And he goes on and he becomes even bigger than he was 10 years ago. And I thought that was a great story. And I was so happy to hear it. And totally inspiring. I love comeback stories like that. It's the typical hero's journey. It's the arc that is popular in every movie. Somebody starts out, they're doing okay. Something happens. They go way down, like they go into the pit and they have to claw themselves out of the pit. And they claw themselves out of the pit and they become bigger than they were before. Batman in the hole. This guy Fousey is Batman in the hole. Climbing his way out. But it's a great story. I loved hearing it. I hope you liked hearing it. So staying on point with the Gilded Age, this next story is some real Gilded Age stuff. I learned this from another friend, and this other friend, he goes to all these exclusive high society clubs in New York City. And he was at the Metropolitan Club, and he learned this. I think he met a Vanderbilt, and the Vanderbilt told him this story. So there's this guy, and the guy is at this gala at the Metropolitan Club. Some girl is there. They don't know each other. They talk, they dance, they drink, and they leave together. And the guy has a nice car. And the girl goes with him, and the guy drives upstate. And they get out of the car at this huge mansion. It's actually a famous mansion. At this huge famous mansion. And the girl goes to him, "What are we doing here?" Because it's just this big, famous, huge place. And the guy goes, "This is my house." And it was a Vanderbilt who told my friend the story. The guy goes, this Vanderbilt goes, "This was my house." And I thought it's a fun story, but it really had me thinking why, I think a lot of the reason why so many people love New York City. There are two reasons, or let's say three reasons why people love New York City. First of all, the diversity makes it endlessly fun and interesting. Second is New York City is a club for ambitious people. There are so many different so many people of various ambitions here, but high ambitions. And people get together and the energy is crazy in this city. And I'll share a personal story after this that is very similar to not the Vanderbilt story, but to like two ambitious people coming together. And then the third is you can meet people here who can put you on. People come to the city because they hope to be put on. People come to New York because they hope to meet somebody who is further along in life than them, and they can put them on. They can give them a job. They can mentor them. They can give them money for doing nothing, which actually happens. They can make them famous, put them on TV, put them on radio, put them on YouTube, put them on wherever. Because there are so many ambitious people here that you can meet people like that. You can meet people like the Vanderbilts. You can social climb your way to parties at the Metropolitan Club and meet a Vanderbilt. And that's why people like the promise of the city. But people don't know how to do it right. And I think the way that most people are doing it is it's like they're playing the lottery. They are really playing the lottery. They're hoping to just randomly meet somebody, and that person is going to notice something in them within the first 2 minutes of meeting, and it's going to pop off like that. And the problem that people in the city make is that they don't give other people the time. So what a lot of people in New York City do is they try to have a lot of shallow relationships, and they don't invest in having deep relationships. And that's where the value comes from. You can meet anyone in New York, but not anybody is going to tell you who they are. And you only learn these things. You only learn the value when you invest into a relationship with somebody, when you invest your time into getting to know somebody. And the mistake that people make in New York is they bounce around, they try to meet as many people as they can, go to as many events as they can, when actually what they should do is they should just go to places where they think they can meet good people, meet one or two people, and then invest time into those single relationships. And this is what I'm doing, and I think it's working pretty well. So I'm going to share a story from yesterday. So the story started, I think, last week or the week before. I go to tech and business events every day and every night here in New York. It is a ton, and I'm meeting a lot of people. And I don't want to make this mistake where I just meet people and I don't have good relationships with them. By the way, welcome to this listener who just joined. Welcome, Musan. I record this on Twitter Spaces because I get some audience interaction. It makes it real fun. And then I put it up on Spotify. So I think many people, I put it up on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and everywhere. I think many people are listening on some streaming service. They're not listening live like Musan is, but welcome, Musan. This is episode number 17 of The Edward Show. It's a daily podcast that I do where I talk about things that I'm learning, things that inspire me, and meeting people and investing in relationships is something that inspires me. And so this was several weeks ago, and I was at this event. It was a venture capital event. It was supposed to be for venture capitalists and angels, and then startup founders. And I ended up talking to the host of the event for a long time, this woman, Jessica. And we spoke for a long time because I was investing my time with the host because I said, this person is throwing events in New York City and around the world. This is somebody who knows a lot of people. This is somebody, and then she told me, she has this email list. She threw this event at South by Southwest. She's really going hard meeting people and organizing events. And I said, this is a good person to know. I'm going to invest my time with this person. So we talked for a while. We connected on Instagram. So we were following each other on Instagram. And I said, hey, let's have coffee when you return to New York. She went to, I think, Startup Fest in Montreal. And she came back a day or two ago to New York City. And we had coffee yesterday. And I had no agenda actually going into coffee with her. My only agenda was learn about what she is trying to do, what her goals are. Maybe I can give her advice that would help her. And just for free, just give advice for free and inspire her. I love doing that with people. And when you do that with people, value comes your way. I really believe that. And so we sit for coffee and she tells me what she's trying to do. She wants to start her own venture capital firm, because she has an email list of all these VCs and all these angels, and she wants to get a lot of LPs and start her own VC. And I tell her about an idea that I've had. And I really believe that over the next several years, there are going to be many AI automation companies that are sold for hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars to companies like Accenture, which just, I think, invested $3 billion of their own into their AI capabilities. And so what is an AI automation company? It is a company that sets up artificial intelligence automations for other companies. It helps companies automate huge portions of their workforce and saves them a lot of money. This is something that's unfortunate. People don't like to talk about that this is coming, that employees are going to get replaced with machines, but it's been happening for a long time, and it's now going to happen a lot faster. And employers everywhere are looking how they can cut their workforce and replace them with machine learning algorithms. And I know that there are going to be these agencies that build these automations for companies. But the hardest part, and these agencies are going to be sold for hundreds of millions of dollars, but the hardest part is execution, is go to market. It's getting those early clients. I actually think you can get a delivery partner. It won't be too hard to get a delivery partner. People just need money. But the hardest part is getting the customers. So I said to her, I had this idea. This is something that I've been thinking about for a long time. I actually have delivery partners myself, and I have a plan for how we would do this and then create even more go-to-market. But I said to her, do you think your list, the people that you know, are these people who would want to set up AI automations for their companies? And she said, yeah. And I said to her, I think somebody who is throwing events in all of these cities, in all of these top cities, will meet a lot of people who will want these AI services. And I think you can make a lot more money doing that than you could trying to start a VC, which is hard because raising for a fund, that's a grind. That is a grueling 3 to 6 month grind. Even if you have a good network, that is hard. I know people who have done it. They said it is hard. I know people who are trying to do it. Most of them fail and they say it is hard. But I think selling something that is really hot, that people want, that people are thinking about, and then taking that money and flipping it into even more go-to-market, I actually think that's a lot easier. And so I said to her, I said, what if you send out a message to your list and you say, I just started an AI automation agency. We're building out AI automations for companies. Let me know if you're interested. And we validate this lean startup method. We see, will people even message back? If they do, what do they want automated? And then are they willing to give money? Are they actually willing to give any money up front? First, what would they pay? And then are they willing to give anything up front with the promise that we'll give you a discount? You're going to be one of our first customers and we'll give you a discount. But you have to commit this amount of money up front. And then once we have the devs in place, they commit more up front. I guess 50%. And then we give, after delivery, they give the rest of the 50% after delivery of the automation. And then maybe we could have maintenance fees every year as well. And then what we do, so first, that's how we would validate it, is just talking to people who are interested and seeing if they will pay money up front because this is something that they really want. I've heard, maybe I shouldn't be sharing this, but I'm going to. I know a lot of people who are making hundreds of thousands of dollars off Upwork. And you can even actually see YouTube videos on this. They're making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month selling basic AI automations to companies off Upwork. And there's more demand for these services now than there are people who can supply them. That's how in demand this is. And this is on Upwork specifically, but I believe that if you're in New York City, you're going to get huge contracts from SMBs and especially enterprises. Especially if you turn out good work for the SMBs, you're going to get recommended to enterprises. And I have a lot of enterprise connections. I think this woman is building a lot of enterprise connections. And I have a delivery partner. They're out in Hungary. It's a good friend of mine who has a dev shop in Budapest. I've worked with him before. He built the AI speech-to-speech capabilities for my startup Reverb. We're one of the only companies doing speech-to-speech. He built all that functionality. His team built that functionality. It works great. And it's amazing. And they did it fast. And I met him when he had a blockchain company, an NFT company that was doing $7 to $8 million a month in profits. And I was advising his company. And I watched his devs turn out incredible work for this huge NFT project. So I said, I have the delivery partner. You have the initial go-to-market. And then what we'll do is we'll take the profits from the initial sales and flip them into an AI media company. That's a company that reports on updates in AI, creates unique media using AI, and funnels that interest into setting up more AI automations for companies. And that's how and then we build up this funnel of companies who want AI automations. 2, we become influential in the world of artificial intelligence, which is so valuable. And that's how we have, I think, a super big exit. And it would be split 3 ways. We would have this woman, Jessica, who has the initial go-to-market and who will continue to go to market as she throws big tech and AI events around the world, which she's doing. Credit to her. She's amazing. We have my close friend who would be delivery partner. His devs will be delivery partner. And then we have me. I guess I would be like COO. I also have a lot of enterprise connections, but I will be responsible for setting up this media company, which I think will bring us a ton of value beyond the in-person networking, because you can only get so far with in-person networking and referrals. But if you have a top media company in a specific niche like AI, I think that could take a company really far. And that's what I want to do. And this opportunity presented itself because I said, I'm going to invest deep into this relationship rather than just meet this person and say, oh, it's cool that this person remembers me for 5 minutes. I want to become this person's friend. And I'm doing that actually in 2 hours. In 2 hours, I'm meeting with this guy. I met him at an event a few days ago. His name is Zaid. He was on CNBC recently talking about finance. He works in Dubai all the time. He has a hedge fund. I think he has several hedge funds. And I met him at some tech event. And I said, this is a guy who is ambitious, who's hardworking, who's smart, who's on top of his stuff. And I can meet a lot more people like this. There are so many more people like this in New York City. But what's the point of meeting 10 people and having them barely remember you versus meeting 1 or 2 people and having them really remember you? And that's what I want. I want to meet 1 or 2 people who are super talented and amazing and have them really remember me. That's where the value is unlocked. I love people too. I like getting to know people. And so I want to spend my time with great people. And that's the lesson for today. So I think today was a good episode. The original story with Fousey, inspiring story. Everybody likes a comeback story. And there are so many different ways that you can come back. And Fousey has a good one. And then being in New York City or being in a city where you can meet talented people. When you meet someone and you think there's something about them that you like, something about them that's special, don't just try to meet more people like them. Invest in that relationship. And so many amazing things can come from that. That's my mantra. That's what I'm about in life. And that's what I'm going to be doing in 2 hours. So I hope you all enjoyed this episode. Musan, thank you for still tuning in and listening. I love this. I can't wait. This Twitter, doing these on Twitter Spaces is crazy because it's just going to continue to grow. And more people are going to come in and continue to listen live as I'm recording. So I'm hyped to be doing this. I can't believe it's actually working. I started this. This is episode number 17. I started this 16 days ago, not 17, because I recorded the first one 10 days before I decided to do it daily. So I started this 16 days ago. And I can't believe people are actually tuning in live. I looked at my listener stats on Libsyn where my podcast is hosted. I had all these listeners yesterday. And I said, where do these listeners come from? How is this happening? And I can't believe it's actually happening. So I'm humbled too. Fousey has been humbled. Edward has been humbled. I'm humbled. Thank you all so much for listening. I will talk to you all tomorrow. Bye.